Being told that they're to prepare for 100 to 200 patients. Barbara, thank you very much for talking with us. Barbara, they're at the check stop. And again, as Larry was saying, most people, if you're familiar with the town of West, you know it because of the kolaches. Everybody stops there on the way south to Waco or Austin. You stop there to get some kolaches. And this is the scene of what really can be described as nothing other than a major disaster. This is something that I think will be unfolding for days to come. Again, multiple injuries, many of them critical, major damage to buildings, houses, the nursing home, possible apartment buildings surrounding the fertilizer plant, and that certainly doesn't even begin to talk about the fertilizer plant itself. And we understand that we're going to go back to Larry.
Karen, I'm going to tell you, I'm getting some information coming from some of my friends in law enforcement and some emergency management folks from around North Texas that I've met through the years. A lot of those folks from Johnson County are heading down to the scene right now. So it's really, they're mobilizing a lot of the emergency responders, the law enforcement officials from all over Central and North Texas, Karen, are en route to the scene as we speak.
And look at all of those people there standing in front of the high school. And again, you know, we talk about evacuations. I can't imagine what these people must be going through, because you're told to get out of town, but if you don't have all of your loved ones there, not everyone, some folks may have been at work still. It was 10 minutes to 8 when this happened. Might have been in another part of town, in another town entirely, and you can see people coming in, maybe coming in to check on their relatives, people who have loved ones living there in the town of West. And we know that prayers certainly are going out to all of the people in the town of West right now, and the firefighters and the first responders who are there and who are having to deal with something of this magnitude. And again, people are coming, or the responders are coming from communities outside of West to help with this because of the scale of this disaster. And we are told that because of the ammonia, the fumes from the plant, they are moving the command center. So our Bright Pitcher, our producer, is talking to me. Is that what you're saying? All of these cars, yeah, they're going to be moving this because it's just a little bit too close to the fertilizer plant. So the fertilizer...
Tokyo Road, Karen. To Tokyo Road is where they are now moving.
They're going to stay there in West.
To the triage, yep.
All right, so they are moving this to Tokyo Road there in West. If you're familiar with that area, you can see the fires on the left side of your screen. And the number you're seeing right there, 254-202-1100. This is the number you can call if you have loved ones there in the town of West. If you want to call to check on them, find out how they are, if there are names of the injured on any sort of record, this is the number to call to check on those. And we want to go back out to Jason Allen right now. And Jason, we saw...
They're moving crews back right now.
All right, Jason, go ahead. Can you hear me, Jason?
This fire that we showed you a little bit ago, I want to show you the damage that it did to the houses. If you look at this home right over here, and this is immediately next to the house we showed you on fire, the entire side of this home is, it's gone. It's blown in. The walls have completely collapsed and blown into the living room. And this is the type of damage that we saw on several houses as we drove in here. It's absolute destruction. There's probably no salvaging this house. We have not seen the people that lived here. We have seen some people in some homes just down the road with very similar damage. This home not on fire right now, although the fires that we're seeing to the south are spreading. In fact, we just had some firefighters come down and tell us that a second tank is in danger right now of possibly catching fire, possibly exploding. So they are starting to move some crews back and out of the area. So we wanted to show you this before we had to move out, but we're going to do that right now and then get you some more pictures and some more details here from the scene.
All right, Jason, thanks. Yeah, we understand from our Ginger Allen, she's been making calls out there all evening, that the white tanks that Jason was just describing, those contain liquid fertilizer. The building that was on fire is the dry fertilizer plant and the office, one big building, and we understand that perhaps that was where the explosion took place. There was a fire that the firefighters were trying to fight earlier, and as they were fighting the fire, that's when it exploded. This right here, you can see this is the check stop. You saw it a second ago. That was the check stop, and the mushroom cloud that could be seen from the check stop there in West. And this, again, this is the high school there in West. This is where the triage teams were set up. Now they are being moved to another area, probably to get away from the fumes, the ammonia fumes that are coming from the fertilizer plant that can cause damage by themselves, by the fumes by themselves. We understand that the state has now mobilized resources to come into this area to help out. So the town of West has got help from neighboring communities and is now going to have help from the state because, again, of the scale of this disaster. We saw at one house that Jason walked up to, and there's seems to be very little left of it. It doesn't seem to be a whole lot keeping it upright, but many other houses are burning or completely burned to the ground by this point. And again, here is a number you can call if you have loved ones in West and you want to check on them, find out their conditions, how they might be. The number is 254-202-1100. And do we have Brian on the phone?
Karen,
all right.
I'm getting some reports, Karen, from some of the reporters down there in West right now that there are casualties, but we have no exact number at this time.
Right, exactly, and that's not surprising given the magnitude of this. Again, emergency crews responding after a report of a major explosion, a burning fertilizer plant. The firefighters were fighting the fire there. The fire rekindled. The explosion happened at about 10 minutes to 8. And we do know firefighters were reported down. We heard that from dispatchers. We heard the frantic radio call earlier. Numerous injuries reported, multiple ambulances. You can see them, the lights everywhere. Several buildings reported destroyed, nearby nursing home damaged. Reports people trapped in the nursing home and a nearby apartment building. And we understand that there were perhaps severe injuries inside those areas. They are moving the triage area from Haven and North Reagan Streets. They are moving that to Tokyo Road, Tokyo Street in that area. A number of buildings burning. West Middle School, we're told, is one of the buildings that was on fire. And injured victims being taken to area hospitals, including Hillcrest Baptist in Waco and Scott and White in Temple. Jason Allen, we're going to go back to you now.
Yeah, Karen, we wanted to take the opportunity when we could to show you some evidence of the force of this blast. These are a couple cars that were parked in the driveway of the home that we just showed you where the walls were blown out. And as you look all around this car, all the windows have blown in. Pieces of the headrests here have been knocked down. And this is reminiscent of what we've seen cars all the way down the road sitting in driveways looking like they got in some sort of accident. But from what we can tell and the people that we have talked to here, this was simply from the force of the blast. Again, we're just to the north, just to the northeast of where the plant was that exploded. The fires obviously have been here. The homes were destroyed. And this is what a lot of the cars that were just sitting here in the driveway, nothing hit these vehicles that we can tell, at least right now. It doesn't look like there's any debris inside. This was just the force, the concussion from the explosion, from what people have told us, that did this damage to the vehicles here that are just sitting in their driveways. Karen?
All right, Jason, thank you very much. And we also want to mention that of the injured, we're being told that these explosions don't discriminate. They range from babies to the elderly. Again, the nurse folks were in the nursing home at the time of this explosion, and there was a lot of damage to that building, so we have to assume that many of the injured might be from that nursing home as well. Now,
Karen, an update on where the triage has been moved to. It's currently there at the football field. They're in the process of moving it about 6 blocks south to a softball field. So about 6 blocks south of where the stadium is where the new triage is being set up. And that's because of the smell of even some ammonia or some type of odor in the air around the football field. So they are moving it to the south with the southeast wind. You know, obviously some of that fumes, if there is some coming still from the fertilizer plant, would be blown off to the north of the town of West. And if you look where the fertilizer plant is located, it's in the northeast corner of the town of West. So I I-35 kind of runs along the west side of the town of West. The fertilizer plant is about as far away from I-35 as you can get and still be in the town of West, up there in the northeast corner of the town of West. And the football field where you saw from Chopper 11 a few moments ago, that's relatively close to the fertilizer plant. If I had to estimate, I would probably maybe say a half mile to maybe a mile from the actual fertilizer plant. They're moving the triage center to the south of the football field because of that smell.
Right, exactly. Exactly. And I was actually surprised because of the proximity to the high school to the plant that it didn't sustain more damage.
And I was looking on a Google Earth image of the fertilizer plant from however long ago, may have been a year or so, but I counted 12 large fertilizer tanks that set on the property. The liquid tanks, exactly. And there may be more smaller ones underneath some of the buildings or some not visual from the Google Earth display, but you know, we don't know how many exploded. The word was coming that another one was on fire, and that's why they pulled the crews back, and as Jason Allen reported there a few moments ago.
All right. And we understand, too, thank you very much, Larry, that the command center is reporting that they have plenty of help at this point. The streets, as you can see, just from this snapshot, they are congested. And so they are asking people who might be coming to town to help to please wait on the outskirts of town, that they will come and get you if you are needed, if they do need your help. But right now, they feel like they do have plenty of help. I imagine that this is a great big problem they're dealing with, and it's probably taking them a lot of hands to get it sorted out, but they certainly have a lot of hands there, judging by just these images that we've seen. We want to go back now to Brian New, who is also in West. Brian.
Karen, we're along I-35 here, and we are just seeing emergency vehicles racing back and forth, going north, going south. A lot of them are having what appears to be a difficult time actually getting in to West. So we're seeing a lot of them parked along the side of the interstate. Now, about 10 miles north of West, as we were making our way into town, we really started smelling the fire at that point, a very strong smell. And even further north, up in Hillsborough, we talked to people who say they saw the plume of smoke and even heard what they thought was an explosion. Many of them thought it was there in town, Hillsborough, 15 miles away. Then even further north in South Dallas, you know, people reported what they thought was an earthquake. And so we are trying to make our way back in, trying to get into West, along with these emergency crews. We're seeing a lot of tow trucks as well going back and forth, trying to make their way into this scene. But it's a very small town, only a few ways to get in and out off of the interstate. But a lot of emergency vehicles down here, we're spotting them from different jurisdictions, you know, from Dallas. You know, we even saw one from Austin, as far south as Austin.
All right. Thanks very much, Brian. We want to go back out now to Jason Allen, who's not too far away. Jason.
Yeah, Karen, we want to give you one last look here. We are having to move away right after this because there were some additional explosions that were just heard. So we're going to move further out of the area. This is a home where I was talking to some people probably 15, 20 minutes ago. They have left now, too. I think that they've evacuated as well. And we'll just give you a quick look inside of what this explosion did. You can see the roof here of this house, the ceiling, I should say, that is completely caved in. All of the windows were blown in. The roof up here, and Sal, if we could back out and just see a little bit here what it did here on the eaves, and you can see the damage that was done to the roof line and blown apart. I know some people here were very worried that there would be looting, but it looks like to us most of the people have left to this point, and since we've been able to show you this, we're going to do that too and try to find a safer vantage point to give you some more looks at what's going on. Karen?
All right. Thank you very much, Jason. We'll talk to you in just a bit. For those of you who are on Twitter, you understand what this means, but the hashtag #PrayForWest is one of the top trending things on Twitter right now. It's all over Twitter and has been since about 8 o'clock when this happened about 10 minutes to 8. And this is all many people seem to be talking at this point. And it certainly has become a national story. And we heard earlier that statement from Governor Perry he has released a statement saying, "We are monitoring developments and gathering information as details continue to emerge about this incident. We've also mobilized state resources to help local authorities. Our thoughts and prayers are with the people of West and the first responders on the scene."
Karen, I'm getting reports out of Hillcrest Baptist Medical Center that so far they've received 40 patients so far from the town of West.
Right, I
so
think
40 patients so far.
Yeah, I'm hearing between 40 and 60. Thank you very much, Larry. We're going to go out to Anita Foster now with the American Red Cross. Hi there, Anita. I understand you guys are on your way.
Yeah, we are. This is just an incredible situation, one that just breaks our hearts, I know, as much as it does everybody else's. So we've just tried to do everything we can tonight so far to get a really good response up and running. We've talked with emergency management. They're helping us identify some shelter locations that are a safe distance from where the disaster is taking place. So in the course of the next hour or two, we'll have those locations identified and be able to start moving families out of harm's way into those shelters. And I just have to say, with, you know, the experience that I've had over a lot of years, don't think this is going to be a short operation. These are going to be folks that are going to need some help for a long time. So our teams from both DFW and also from the Austin area are working hand in hand to make sure that we do everything we can to just alleviate the suffering that people are experiencing right now. And I will tell, I know you guys know as well as I do that when the sun comes up in the morning, it will paint the true picture of what happened tonight, and we just want to be there to help folks pick up the pieces.
So, Anita, tell us a little bit, describe for us a little bit about what the American Red Cross is there to do for these people. You mentioned relocation. What else do you guys do?
Well, the first thing is safe shelter, making sure that people have a safe place to go when they have to evacuate their home very unexpectedly. The other services that we do that aren't so known, when people are hospitalized, the Red Cross will send our Red Cross nurses to help with the family members that are there waiting on word with their loved ones that might be hospitalized. One thing that I think is going to be very important in this particular event is mental health counseling. You know, the shock of the disaster is going to set in the next day or two. And so we're going to really focus on getting some really strong mental health counselors into this community. It's a very small town. You know, right. One of those everybody knows everybody communities. And we want to make sure that we give them the tools and resources to be able to help each other cope. And those are the emotional things, but the physical things, we know we've got homes lost, people that have lost their possessions. Those are things that the Red Cross does every day that we will be able to do for these families too, just depending on what their needs are. So I would just say, compared to most emergencies that we deal with, Karen, this is one where we're probably going to be utilizing every single service that we have in our program.
I agree, Anita. And as you mentioned, this is not just something that's going to last one day, maybe two. This is going to be a long-term event. This is going to take a very long time for these people to recover. Anita Foster with the Red Cross, thank you so much. We want to go now to our I-Team investigator, Ginger Allen. And Ginger, I know you spoke with the plant owner by phone earlier this evening.
Karen, I did. I talked to the owner just about an hour ago. I was quite frankly surprised that he picked up the phone, but he did, and was quick to talk, but said it was a fire that had started at the plant. He explained to me that things just blew up, and then he said, we don't know what had happened. You could tell he had been out to the plant, and he said that. He knew people were hurt. He had been called out there, but then like everyone else we're seeing on TV right now, he was moved back out of the way and said that he had to go back home. So he was back at home with his wife at the time that we talked. I asked him if anything like this had ever happened before at West Fertilizer. He said, no, this has never happened before. And then I asked about some of his employees, who was there when this would have happened? And he said everybody was off duty at the time. And then he told me, I really can't talk. We are okay. My wife and I are sitting here watching it on TV like everyone else, but I need to get back to work. So when I hung up the phone with him, Karen, then I called the plant manager. got a little more information from the plant manager. He told me, we don't know what happened, but a member of the volunteer fire department called me and said there was a fire on the scene. So the manager then told me he was rushing out to the scene to see what was going to happen, but before he could get there, he heard there was an explosion. So remember I said he was talking to this volunteer firefighter, and this is where this gets very sad and very scary. This firefighter had worked for this manager I was talking to, and he said, now I can't get him back on the phone, and I keep trying, and I haven't heard from him since. So he was very concerned about that, and with the pictures that we are seeing on TV right now, it's easy to understand why. He did talk about the response from the fire and the EMS in the area and how that was overwhelming, and he pointed out that this was likely an ammonium nitrate explosion, and we all know the power of that.
Right. Yes, we certainly do. And Ginger, we need to point out that it is early yet, but we are hearing from our sister station in Waco that there have been more than 60 people killed in this, 100 injured, and this is per West Emergency Services. And when you consider that the town of West is a population of about 2,700, I don't even want to start crunching those numbers. But again, we're hearing that there have been 60 people killed in this explosion and resultant fires, and more than 100 injured. And
in perspective, if we think about what happened in Oklahoma City, we know Timothy McVeigh used 50-pound bags of ammonium nitrate, and that destroyed and damaged, it was more than 300 buildings, wasn't it, within that 16-block radius in Oklahoma City. Well, what you're looking at right now, people in the agricultural business have told me tonight, a small fertilizer plant, and this is considered small in the state of Texas and in the U.S., it can have hundreds of tons of ammonium nitrate on it. So I go back and say again, Timothy McVeigh used 50-pound bags to do what he did. And what you're looking at right now could have had hundreds of tons of ammonium nitrate, according to the agricultural experts I've talked to tonight.
Right. It's just absolutely horrifying thinking about those numbers. And and you're right. We put this in perspective because we hear those words, fertilizer explosion, and many of us who were there, who lived through that, remember what it was like, the Oklahoma City, the Murrah Federal Building there, and the damage certainly that fertilizer can do. Ginger.
And that comes from the dry fertilizer. If you go back to those aerials, I can talk you through that scene a little bit. I've been talking to someone who's very familiar with it. We had some shots earlier that looked down on the plant where it was damaged.
Right.
The dry fertilizer is the ammonium nitrate. I see you still have live pictures now. So when you're looking down on that picture, Karen, when you're talking through it, the tanks on the right are the dry fertilizer, and then the area to the left would have been the wet fertilizer and the office building that's completely destroyed there now.
Okay, yeah, that dry fertilizer, the ammonium nitrate, that is certainly deadly stuff. And Ginger, you can see people there just kind of in this picture right now, moving with a flashlight, probably searching for the injured, anybody who might be a survivor or possibly killed in the damage. And as Anita Foster was saying a few moments ago, I think at sunrise, when the sun comes up, I think we're going to see the true extent of what happened here tonight. Now, we understand...
Here, and that's the picture I'm talking about right there. We were just seeing it. You could see all that was still standing was those tanks, and the dry fertilizer would have been off to the left.
All right, so the dry fertilizer then was what you're saying is what exploded here, and the tanks that are over there on the right that you can see right there?
That would be the most likely scenario, yes. Yeah, you see the tanks down in the picture we're showing on the left-hand side of the screen. Every once in a while you see a flash. There it is right there. Those are the white tanks. That would be the liquid fertilizer. The dry fertilizer would have been stored off to the left in the area where you still see some flames down there. And that's where the building would have been also. This was all one big building, obviously completely destroyed now, but it gives you an idea of what happened down in that area. And that dry fertilizer would be used for crop production.
Right.
And we've been able to learn a little bit about West Fertilizer. It's been in business in this West area for decades, and it sells to farmers between Waco and Hillsboro.
Right. Okay, Ginger, thanks very much. Don't go too far. We might be checking in just a bit, but we want to go now to Brian New. We understand you've got some new information for us, Brian?
Yeah, Karen, we're on the south side of town, so we're on the side of furthest away from the fertilizer plant, and folks here are loading up their cars. They have been told to leave and evacuate. It looks like, you know, an evacuation that you would see in a hurricane. They're just packing up their vehicles. They're leaving. All these cars are headed south here. None of them are headed north. We're going north, and we're the only vehicle going north. There is a line that's being formed to get on to Interstate 35. They're not allowing them to go north towards the plant, but everyone just south. You know, folks here don't know how long they're going to be gone, and so they're just stuffing their vehicles with everything they can, and they're leaving. They're leaving this town.
Right, exactly. And as they're hopefully asking everyone to do is to leave the town, if for no other reason than the possibly, you know, the toxic ammonia fumes that are coming from this fertilizer plant that is still on fire. All right, Brian New, thank you very much. And again, we do want to reiterate here what we are hearing: as many as 60 or 70 people killed now as a result of this fertilizer plant explosion that happened at about 10 minutes to 8 o'clock, and hundreds injured, not just 100 injured. We're hearing now hundreds possibly injured in. All right, and we do think that we are going to get more of an update, because Hillcrest Baptist in Weco, where many of the injured would have been taken, they are going to have a news conference for us in just a little bit. And as soon as they do begin their news conference, we'll certainly go out there to give you that. But again, we're hearing hundreds at this point injured, as many as 60 or 70 people killed. And it started as a fire that firefighters were treating. We don't know how the fire started. As Ginger mentioned a moment ago, she spoke with the plant manager and the plant owner, and they both say that they don't know how the fire started. They got a call from a volunteer firefighter who said the plant is on fire, and then the next thing they understand, the fire had erupted and exploded. And this is the result right here. You can see what we've seen images of what looks like a true mushroom cloud coming from this little town of 2,700 people. They have evacuated the town, and the streets, as you can see, are clogged. They're clogged with emergency personnel and people. Many people, I'm sure, trying to get into the town. There you can see in the smaller picture on the left-hand side of your screen, that is what's left of a nursing home that was very near the fertilizer plant. And you can see when our helicopter's light goes over it, you can see there wasn't much left of the roof. Many parts of this nursing home caved in. We don't know how many injuries, possibly deaths, have taken place here at this nursing home, but many people might be coming into this town of West trying to check on loved ones, parents who they know are there in the nursing home, want to check on them. And we do have a phone number that you can call if you want to check on a loved one. And the number to call is right there on your screen. It's 254-202-1100. Wes.